All right. So everybody, we have Barbara Collins and Angel. Angel, I don't know how to say your last name. I don't want to.
Hootie.
Hody?
Hootie, like who and
Hootie.
D.
Okay.
Oh,
Um, they work for Disability Resource Services, which is a great center on campus that will help you all with um, can help you all with multiple things, and they're going to explain what their office does and how they can be of assistance to you all. So, Barbara, I'm going to turn it over to you.
okay. Thank you. Okay, so what I would like to do is share my screen and put the PowerPoint presentation up that we have. So I'm going to attempt to do that. So Angel, I might need you to walk me through it though. Do I pull the PowerPoint up first and then share the screen?
Well, I think Hannah has to give you controls
Oh,
first.
okay, Hannah, you have to give me control. Or you have to share your screen with me.
I just made you a co-host.
Okay, so now I can share my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see how this goes.
I was gonna say I don't there we go.
Okay, I wanna,
That
uh,
little one in the bottom in the corner down. Can you you probably can't see my mouse.
I wanna do it like that, yeah. So, okay, that's it. So what I want to say to all you students, student athletes, welcome to the presentation. Like Hannah said, my name is Barbara Collins. I'm the Assistant Director of Disability Resource Center. I'm a former athlete myself. I ran track and field. So I have been in your shoes. So what I would like to say, the Disability Resource Center, this is a resource for students on campus. If you have been diagnosed with a disability, or if you feel you may have a disability, you can request services to our office if you have gone to be evaluated, and you can provide a diagnosis. So just in our introduction, I would just like students to know that we always promote inclusiveness on our campus. We want our campus to be free of attitudinal barriers and physical barriers for students with disabilities. We want students to feel the full range, have the full range of a college experience here on campus, whether they have a disability or not. And we just want to make sure we are always responsive to the needs of our students and provide reasonable accommodations for students on our campus. With that being said, we also encourage our students to be successful and to advocate for themselves. So when they leave the university, they are equipped to advocate for themselves if they have a disability.
So I'm gonna jump in real quick and say I'm Angel Hootie. I'm the accommodations counselor. And I did go to school here, but I was not an athlete. And I'm still here.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and change the screen, I think. Okay, so what this screen is, if you go to our website, these are the laws that govern the Disability Resource Center. It's the Americans with Disability Act, the Rehabilitation Act of Section 504. And so these are the laws that we follow in any disability that we provide to students, or any requests that come through our office. We always have to go by the law to make sure these laws regulate what we do. So we have to make sure we interpret the law correctly. We look at any request that we receive, and we go and look at the law and see if it's interpreted in a way that we can provide an accommodation for a student. So that's just, if you can go to our website and look at this, that's just a little information for you to have. This is also a continuation of our website. On this page, you can it'll tell you about the Disability Resource Center. You can see all the links on the left-hand side. It'll provide you with all the different links if you want services, if you need forms, if you're a distance learner, the law which we just covered, of if you need service animals or assistant animals. Those are all the regulations that we have listed on our webpage. So if you feel like you have a disability or you're not sure, you can go browse through our page and see if you can read through any information. And if you feel like you're someone with a disability, you can be tested, or if you've already been tested, if you had 504 accommodations in high school, some of those accommodations can carry over to college. So don't be ashamed, don't be afraid. This is a resource for our students on campus, and it will make the world of difference when you're taking exams and your GPA. And one of the reasons why we reached out to Hannah, we want to make sure that we're getting our student athletes ahead of time. We don't want you guys, if you have a disability, we want to catch you before you get to midpoint, before your grades are kind of in array, and provide services for you if you need them. So I'm gonna let Angel take it over from here, and I'll jump in.
Can you hold on real quick, Miss Barbara? Can you just control it, the screen, the slides?
What do you mean control it?
Like if you'll just click it when I ask you?
Oh, okay, yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay, cool. So as the accommodations counselor, what I do is I review the documents that students submit to be able to receive services. So right there on the screen, it shows the process of students registered through the DRC office on our website. And that's really great. The system is called AIM. And so you can do this 24 hours a day, anywhere in the world. So even in the middle of the night or something, not that you're going to be doing it at night, but if you are, because you recognize I do have a learning disability, or I do have some type of disability, visible or invisible, and I do need to get some assistance, and I really want to make that commitment and make the change to get the help that I need, you would go to that AIM system right there, and that way we would be able to provide you with some services depending on the process. And so I'll talk about that as well. If you are approved for services and you submit your documentation, you do your application, and everything is set and we're ready to go, then you will receive accommodations letters. And we used to do all of those letters, not by hand, but we used to do them
manually,
with lots and lots and lots of paper. And now all of that stuff can be done online. So it makes it really easy, really convenient. There's nothing necessarily that you need to sign or your professors need to sign. And I'll go more into detail about these different things. But what will happen is that accommodations letter will not have where your disability is in there, but it will say that you are registered with our office and that you're approved for these different accommodations. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So the student accountability in that letter is going to say that they are to treat you with respect, to make sure that you get these different accommodations, don't identify you as a student with a disability, don't single you out. Those are key things that I always make sure that the students know, because there is, unfortunately, there's still a big stigma about people being recognized, singled out for being individuals with disabilities. We want people to get the help and the support that they need without necessarily having to divulge all that information. So the letter will say those different things and your accommodations, and it's going to tell the professor that they need to follow those things. And at the same time, that letter is going to say for the professor to visit with the student to discuss the accommodations, not the disability, but the accommodations that the student will receive. And then on the other end, the student accountability section there is where the student will also need to make a point to visit with the professor. And because of COVID, we're talking about doing that virtually, over the phone, email. And if in fact you do visit, because it's a face-to-face class, that you would do that with social distancing. So Ms. Barbara, if you'll go to the next slide for me. So some of the most common accommodations that we see is extended time. Typically that's time and a half. So if a quiz is 30 minutes, then a student will get 30 minutes plus an additional half of that time. Sometimes we also do give out double time. And the way that we make these different accommodations that I'm going to discuss, and this is just a few, is based on the documentation that the student submits. So we have to have proof to support whatever it is that we're providing to the students. We also give out a lot of times testing in a distraction reduced environment. Some of these things are things that maybe students received on their 504 stuff in high school, where it may have said distraction free, or we put separate testing areas so that the student can take their exam. And a lot of times I make sure to let students know something like extra time and then a distraction free or a separate testing area, they go together. Because if a student is taking an exam and they get that extra time that they need, whether they use all of that time or they only need a little bit of it, we want to make sure that if there's like an actual paper coming to you, you are doing your exam or your quiz and you want to use that extra time and the whole class turns theirs in, if you turn yours in at the same time, you're not getting your time. And if you hold your paper, then you will be identified. So we do make sure that we put the extra time and separate testing or the distraction-free environment together. You may or may not use all that time, but we still have it there and it's available. And that's something that we use during finals, midterms, and exams. Some students use it the entire time, and some students only use it for major exams and quizzes. So that's very important. The use of digital recorder, which now, because everybody can use their phones, so typically that's what we will do. There is a special portion to that where students that are allowed to use an audio recording device, whether it's their phone or one that they check out from us, that they do need to sign to make sure that they do not share that information, don't upload it anywhere, they keep it for themselves. It's for educational purposes only. If a person doesn't do the audio recording, they may use the note taker in class. And so with something like that, the note taker would not know who the person is that they're taking notes for, but the professor would make an announcement to the class that says, I do need someone to volunteer to take notes. And the professor will get with that student to get the note taking paper. We have special carbon copy paper, or the student may type their notes, send them to the professor, and then those notes get sent to the student from the professor. So the only way I tell students, the only way that a professor would know or the student would know who they're taking notes for is if you had a friend in the class and you already felt comfortable and they knew that. Other than that, that accommodation still would stay within the confidentiality and privacy that we want all students to have. The next one would be alternative testing formats. So with that, there's a lot of different methods of testing that can occur, but there would be an alternate way of providing the test to the student, and then also priority seating. So some students, maybe we'll put that in the letter as preferential seating. So some students want to sit closer to the door, or they maybe want to sit closer to the front, or they may need to sit towards the back. It's a preferential type of thing. So what the preference is of the student. And that's why we encourage the students to meet with their professors so that they can discuss these accommodations. Again, not their disability, but the accommodations that they can receive. And they may choose to use some of these things that are afforded and available to them based on their documentation, or they may choose not to. But we still want to make sure that they can have access to those things if they need them. The use of a laptop, tablet in class. Some professors are still old school and don't want people using those different types of devices, but some students have disabilities that require them to have these type of devices to be used at all times. And so we'll put that in as an accommodation as well. And again, we do this based on the disability that the student has, the documentation that supports that, and a meeting. So I'll do an intake meeting to talk with the student to see what is best that would help them to do well academically, or at least have an opportunity to perform well academically with proof and justification to provide those accommodations. The next one is JAWS, and that is something that our visually impaired students or low vision students use, and it's a screen reader type of device that helps students that may also be struggling with a vision impaired disability. And then the UBI Duo, which is one for our students that are deaf or hard of hearing. So it's basically like where you could text to the person, but you sit at a table and that device helps. So if a student does have an issue and we can't sign to them or they can't sign to us, it's still a great way for us to be able to communicate and make sure that they're getting the services that they need. Thank you, Ms. Barbara. So the do's and the don'ts. So these are some of the do's and don'ts that we share with our faculty and staff members. And I was speaking with Ms. Barbara. We believe that it's important for you all to know these things as well, so that as you're advocating on your behalf, or if you have someone that's a friend and they've let you know that they are connected with us because they felt comfortable enough to share that with you, that you also will be able to know about the students, the responsibilities of and the rights of what the professors are to do and not do. So we ask the professors to be sensitive in reference to the disability that the student is relating to in regards to their concerns and not labeling the student, which goes back to respecting individuals and treating them as people first. We always want that. Do read the accommodations letter. So not only do the students need to read that letter, but the professors need to read it so that when the student and the professor come together, they will be able to discuss the accommodations and make sure that they are met. Also, do treat the disability student with the same respect and courtesy as you would treat other students. If everyone is here, which we believe is here to get their education, then we want everyone to be treated with respect and have a wonderful, inclusive experience in their academic setting. And so another important thing is, and we tell our students and our faculty and staff, do contact the DRC to clarify any accommodations and respect the student's privacy. Confidentiality is of high importance. So it's very important that if they have questions that they can ask, we tell our students as well, if you have questions, if you're not sure, let us know so that we can help. So the things that we don't want the faculty and staff members to do: don't ask or pressure a student to disclose their disability. So a lot of times when I visit with students, one of the things I let them know is that you don't have to disclose it. If you choose to disclose your disability to the professor because you feel comfortable, then that's okay. If they ask you and you feel like you don't want to share that, but they're a person of authority, so you may feel a little bit like you're pressured to, tell the professor. The Disability Resource Center said that you can contact them. And when they contact us, we'll let them know we're not at liberty to share. And that way, it takes the onus of the responsibility off of you to have to share all of that personal or private information that you may not feel comfortable doing. So if the professor does do that, then let us know so that we can help in that area. Also, don't call out the student in front of the class or in front of other personnel. And that speaks again back to the privacy and confidentiality that we want our students to have. And you'll hear us talk about this, and we've talked about it a lot already, because we want to make sure that students know we do not want the stigmatization. We do not want students to feel like they can't get assistance because they will be labeled or identified, or it's going to make them seem as if they're less than. We want them to have an equal opportunity to really do well and to get the services that they need. And so that's very important. We also ask the faculty members, don't ignore the student's request for a note taker. So with COVID going on, we know that a lot of lectures are being audio recorded already. So we tell students they can go back and rewatch them. But in a general setting time, if the student does need the note taking accommodation, then we don't want the professor to ignore it. And we don't want our students to bypass it and kind of struggle through the semester. So that's really important. And also we ask that the faculty or staff members don't provide additional accommodations that are not approved in the letter. If your professor is like letting you slide by and doing a few things extra, what it does is it creates like a new standard of things that you are not officially approved for, and your next professor may not provide those same things. And so we want students to make sure that they're getting what they are approved to receive. And if there is a need for additional accommodations, then we ask for them to log back into the system, create a request, and we will review it and the documentation and visit with the student to see what can be done. Ms. Barber, if you'll move it for me. Okay, so our concluding statements. One other thing I wanted to talk real quickly about the application part of it. So I mentioned AIM, where you can go and you can apply. When you go there to the DRC website, at the bottom, there's a yellow button that says log into AIM. So you'll click on that button and then you'll do the new application, and you'll be able to answer all of those questions to the best of your ability and then upload supporting documents. If you don't have the documents, still submit the application. We will send you a link that reminds you to let you know to upload your documents so that we can continue the process. Okay.
All right, so what I would just like to jump in and say that our mantra here at the Disability Resource Center is that when we speak with faculty and students, if we do have any issues that we need to resolve, we always try to work as a team together to resolve any issues we may have with faculty. So students won't feel like they're going to be retaliated against, or they're afraid to speak up. So that's just the method that we use here when we're working with faculty. So we do have some great faculty on our campus and that really work well with students. So I just want to kind of give you that's our little mantra here at the Disability Resource Center. We're always in the mode we work in is as a team, and we always want to try to make sure we can resolve every issue with our faculty and our students. And that is it. That's our small presentation. I hope you guys have questions. Let me unshare the screen. Angel, I'll let you do the chat if they want to put them in the chat
Yeah,
box.
I'm already looking. I got you.
So anyway, we're not sharing that screen anymore. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, you can put those in the chat box, and we can start answering questions. Or if you want to speak or ask a question, you can do that too. I'll take the verbal questions and I'll let Angel handle the ones in the chat box.
Oh, thank you so much. Just no questions, but it was a great presentation, especially at 7:35 in the
Yes. And I was
On a
having all kind of
Monday?
Wi-Fi issues. So, is that it?
Yes, I'll also say too, so because we know that this is personal, if you don't feel comfortable coming
Mhm.
forward, just call us and we'll help, we'll answer any questions because it takes a lot of courage to reach out and we want students to do that. So whenever y'all do, we'll be here.
Right. Definitely reach out to us. Hannah knows how to contact us. And like Angel explained earlier, everything is online. You can apply online. We can meet with you via Zoom. You don't have to come into the office. Sometimes we do have students that are very shy. They don't want to come into the office. And so I think the Zoom is a great new tool for us because we have had students that will not come and get services because they don't want to come into our building, because not only is the Disability Resource Center in our building, it's the counseling services and healthcare, and there's a stigma. So with Zoom, now students, if we want to meet with them virtually, they don't have to come into the building and we can still help them. So if you feel like that's something you might want to do, definitely contact our office.
And tell other people too, because someone else may need these services that is struggling.
And I just want to chime in also and really reiterate that athletics will never know if any student gets registered with Disability Resource Services unless they come into my office and ask how to get registered. We don't communicate about that. We respect the student's privacy, and everything remains 100% confidential 100% of the time.
Right. And this does not go on your transcript.
Yeah.
It does not follow you to another academic institution. This is very different from high school. In high school, everybody kind of knew you in section, in the 504, the idea plan, and your counselor knew, the parents knew, and kind of teachers kind of would say things in class, but this is very different. This is more confidential. So only the people that you reveal this information to will have this information. We're very strict about confidentiality. Even with our student employees, they are held to the same standards of confidentiality as the professional employee. So we take it very seriously in our building and in our department.
Well, thank y'all for listening to us.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, we thank you. And I believe